Morning, Coach.
Good morning, Mark. Couple of things before we get started. We did take our COVID test today, so we had one Monday, we have one today, and since we didn't talk about it last Monday, we did have one at 8 o'clock on Friday, and we got those results back at 9 o'clock that night. So it's going to be one of those Friday nights or Saturday mornings, it looks like, before you'll realize whether everybody can play or not, or whether your staff's all clean. But that's what we got. We just had they're having their test right now for Wednesday. So we have one Monday morning at 8. We have one Wednesday after practice, and then we have one Friday morning at 8. So that's the sequence that we have them. Some other people ask why I speak to the team with some videos that Jeremy sent out without a mask on. Our medical people have told us if we're at least 15 feet, 5 yards or more away, then it's safe. So I never go without a mask when I'm within that 15 feet. But when we are that far apart, they will let us take our mask off. And our players, even at practice, they have to have their helmet on or their mask up, or they have to be 15 feet apart or more. In fact, I think they said 12, but we go 5 yards because it's easier for our guys. For us, I thought practice was just okay. I didn't think it was great. I was disappointed, very honestly. Last year we played 2 great games to start the season, and then we didn't play well at Wake Forest. We didn't play well at home against Appalachian. And I told them they've got to become what they say they want to become. And you got to show that. You can't just do that. And I thought today it wasn't awful, but it was okay. It wasn't a great practice by any means. Yesterday was really good, and they had energy, and I thought they were excited about playing. Today I thought it was okay, and that's disappointing. Dom Schaffner, the backup quarterback's going to play. He committed to Jay at Army. He's 210 pounds. He's a really good runner. They've got 2 great backs, so I think, and I really like what they do offensively. They move around, they shift, they motion, they give you a lot of different issues and problems. Will's a tremendous coach. So I think the biggest thing is going to be us stopping their run, because that's going to be very, very important. And we better wake up and understand they're going to try to run it right down our throat and keep the ball. So, and they did a great job with their kicking game last week with the blocked field goal. With their kicker's one of the best in the country. He kicked every kickoff out of the end zone on his kicks. He's kicked up to a 57-yard field goal. And then they had a kickoff return for a touchdown, the long punt return. So you've got to make sure that you have energy to do all those things right. So questions?
All right, guys, please raise your hand, and we'll take your questions. And the first one comes from CL Brown. CL, go ahead.
Hey, Mack, I was wondering, at what point did Sam Howell feel comfortable? I mean, even going back to last year, and this kind of goes to the question I asked about halftime adjustments, or the last press conference, but at what point did he feel comfortable maybe coming to you guys on the sideline saying, hey, this is what I see, I think we should try this? Like, how much is he empowered to kind of both make suggestions and in what to run against what a defense is doing?
He's the son of athletes, college athletes. His mom and dad were athletes in college at Appalachian State. And he's the son of a coach. So he grew up in a film room. So he was comfortable when he got here last spring talking. And actually, when he won the job, I would think, is when he was most comfortable saying, yeah, I like this. This one's harder for me, and here's why. But he and Coach Longo have a great relationship, and they talk all the time. And he does give suggestions. I thought it was probably mid to late season when he started picking up the defense and picking up the special teams and working the whole sideline as a leader. So the conversation about what we like and what we're doing came earlier than the true leadership. But I like the fact that he stands up as a leader now as well.
And I was curious, just your take on the Big Ten. You know, they're announcing now that they are going to start in late October. How do you think that will mesh into the bigger picture of college football?
CL, Jeremy just told me that as I was walking off the practice field and walking off of here. The thing I would say is, again, I appreciate John Swafford, our presidents and chancellors and our athletics directors in this league, going slow before and giving us a chance to start early. And I like the fact that we're playing, and I like how we're playing, and I like the way they're doing it. So I really can't comment on the Big Ten because I don't even know how they're playing or their structure or anything. I don't have any information or any details. But once again, I think it shows that how well the ACC made these decisions and gave us a chance to get started when we wanted to get started.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
We'll move over to Dina King. Dina, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. My question is regarding Coach Bly. Unique situation that he's going to be facing his son, Trey, who's a defensive back at Charlotte. Just want your thoughts. Has he been his normal self at practice, or does he have a little extra step in his game this week?
No, I don't think Trey's going to be able to play. I think he's got a sore hamstring or something. So I asked Dre last night, have you all been talking? And he said, nope, don't talk during game week. So that's part of the deal. So I don't think that'll be a big issue for us this weekend.
And to follow up, a lot of North Carolina kids on that Charlotte roster. Is this game good for the state of North Carolina?
I think it is financially for sure, because I wish we could have fans and that would even get more money to both universities. But at a time where universities and athletics departments are really struggling financially, I think it's always better if you have a chance to give the money to someone within your state, therefore within your system. So I really think this is a win-win for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move over to Andrew Jones. Andrew, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, with respect to what you were saying Monday about expectations and learning how to deal with them, human nature being what it is, how important is this week in terms of judging your team's readiness for a game like this? Their ability to get up and be ready to play.
I think it's you are how you play, whether you say it or not. We can say who we are, and we can tell you guys who we want to be and all that stuff. None of that matters. What matters is how you play. So we will see Saturday. We'll either play with emotion and play good, or we won't. And if we don't, then we're not going to be at the place in our program that the expectations are saying we are. And that's what I told the team today. You are how you play. You are what you put on that field. So keep your mouth shut. Don't talk about it. Do it. And that's the biggest part of where we are. As I said, last year, 2 great opening ball games, and then we decided to take 2 weeks off, and we didn't compete as hard, and didn't play with as much energy, and didn't play with as much confidence. And then we started working our way back. Well, we can either set back earlier this year than we did last year, or we can play. And I can get on the coaches can get on the players. Very honestly, the players have to decide if they're going to compete or not. That's their individual decisions, and all we can do is try to put them in that position.
Readiness is something that's often overlooked by fans and even people in our profession, but how important is that layer to coming together to being what you ultimately want this program to be?
It's the most important thing. I talk about creating an edge in every meeting, creating an edge at every practice, and therefore then that's your normal. That's your normal routine. So your norm is playing at a really high level with high energy. And that's what all of us have to do every day in our lives to be really good at what we do. There's no question. If you folks sit there and you are bored and not interested in what you're writing, it's not going to be as good. I mean, those are facts, whether we like it or not. And that's why I really push our coaches and myself to have high energy and be ready for everything we do to the best of our abilities. And I thought today, again, it was good. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't to the highest standard that we need, and that's what I'm expecting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move to Ross Martin. Ross, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I have a series of questions here. First, with Charlotte announcing that their starter is out and the backup obviously is coming in, why would they do that? I mean, y'all are holding your injury news until Friday or Saturday. What's the advantage of them announcing who's playing at quarterback on Tuesday?
Ross, what happens in a lot of cases is when you know that your starter's out, you want to keep that from being a distraction for your players who are going to be asked every day. And you just want to announce what you've got. Here's what we are. Here's who we are. Here's what we're working on this weekend. And we're going to play, and not make it gray of whether he's going to play or not. And very honestly, in most cases, if Sam Howell was out, you all would know it. Somebody would tell it. People can't keep their mouth shut. So that's just part of the deal. But I think the fact that Dom was recruited by Jay, he's a really good runner. Now we can go back and study his film, but it's going to rally their team. Everybody's going to have to step up and play better than they were going to because their starters out. And it would be the same thing if Jace or Jacoby stepped in for us this week. Our team would rally around them and step up. So I think more than anything else, we've got to figure out now for a second week in a row, what are they going to do? And I think they'll do it at a very, very high level because they don't have their starter in there. And Dom's a really good runner. That's the other thing. He's 210 pounds. So I think we see a lot of the two big backs that they've got are really good players, and we see Dom running the ball now even more than if Chris was starting.
Gotcha. And yesterday we talked to Don Chapman and Ray Vohasek, two kind of unique recruitments. With Vohasek, can you tell us, like, how'd y'all get involved? I know Fedora's staff got involved with him. Can you tell us a little bit about your recruitment of Vohasek and what you like about him as a player?
Yes, Larry's staff offered him, and they were recruiting him. I think he had already taken an official visit, and with the rules of a new coach, we could have another one. And we were very impressed by him, and we needed some big bodies inside. And I will say that we thought he was a really good player on video, and we had him for 3 years. And that was something that really excited us because we didn't have a lot of great young defensive linemen. But he's much better than we thought he was, Ross. He's been his quickness, his toughness. He's been really disruptive in our practices, and he was the same way against Syracuse on Saturday. So, and he did that in the games at the end of the year last year. I think he's really good.
And then Don, coming from San Diego, I mean, his story of his recruitment, and obviously I thought he had a pretty impressive game on Saturday.
Yes, it was impressive that Ray wanted to come because he really didn't have any ties down here or anything. And the first day Ray got down here last year, I remember him working out, and it was so hot. And he looked at me, and he had sweat all over him coming from Chicago. I said, Ray, how do you like it, man? Or is it good? And he said, Coach, it's so hot here. So I didn't know if he's going to stay or not. So we've made a big transition with him. With Don, it was very similar in that Jay had recruited him for 4 or 5 days at Army and offered him and knew him, but then he got offered by all the Pac-12 schools. And, I mean, then I think committed to Washington State maybe and Colorado, but was kind of all over the place. And when we started recruiting him, I said, guys, he's not going to come here. Why would he come here? We're on the other side of the world from him. And really and truly, he's very bright. He's a great young player. I think he'll be an NFL guy before it's over. He's very intense. He makes really good grades. And I even kept asking him when USC and Washington and Oregon made a late push really hard. I said, why would you come here? And he said, Coach, I like everything about it. I just want to come. And I didn't think he would come until I got the papers. That's how much I was surprised with Don Chapman. But those two guys they're out of our footprint. They're out of our norm. We wouldn't even be looking in those areas unless it was the first year and we hadn't established ourselves in our footprint. We're not going to recruit many or any junior college players, and they've both been great surprises for us.
Great. And then quickly, I noticed you had AirPods on before the game. I was wondering what you listened to in the pregame.
Country music? No. I had those on because of I had a game day hit. So I was on
gotcha.
And Jeremy had to have my phone for them to call, and they had to have the earpods. Okay. So, and then of course it was supposed to be before Flex, and I got on about halfway through Flex, so it was all different. So, but that's what it was. I don't listen to music before the game.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Brendan Marks. Brendan, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, thanks for taking the time again. I actually just wanted to piggyback on that question about Dre. I know you had said over the offseason, sort of lauding the work that he did with the secondary and the cornerbacks. What is it that he has done with that group has impressed you the most? And how have you seen him? I know we talk so much about players growing and evolving. How has he grown and evolved as a coach?
He has grown as much as anybody I've ever been around. Of course, he didn't have a lot of experience in coaching, and he's confident. He's aggressive with the players, and he's a Hall of Fame player. So, I mean, every time he lines up at corner and shows them how he did it, it gets their attention, and it gets the attention of guys in recruiting. So I think more than anything else, he's got better players than at this time last year. Even though Storm Duck is a lot different player than he was in the second game last year. Kyler McMichael is really good. Patrice is back. You've got Day Hollins is in there, and Tony Grimes is coming, and Obi's even doing a much better job than he was last year. But I think the biggest thing is that he's exuded more confidence in his coaching this year, and therefore the players are following up with that same attitude.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Greg Barnes. Greg, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, do you remember who it was that first suggested Charlotte as a potential option back 6-8 weeks ago?
Greg, you'd have to ask Rick Steinbacher because he did the scheduling, he and Bubba completely. And I know that they went through the process. It had to be a home game because of the structure of how everybody was going to handle it. And then it was going to be Connecticut, and they decided not to play. And then it was going to be James Madison, and they decided not to play. And Rick and is it Mike Hill, the athletics director at Charlotte, are really close friends from when I guess he was here before. So I'm sure that they probably just talked. And I remember Will was really excited about his opener at Tennessee. And then when that got canceled, he had to have a game too. So I think everybody just started getting on the phone and regionally trying to find out where this thing would work the best for everybody. And they came up with Charlotte.
And you've been supportive of keeping talent in state, even if they don't come to UNC. You've been supportive of playing other teams in the state. Do you have kind of an idea of how you would like a schedule set up? I mean, would you like to play somebody in state annually?
Greg, I haven't thought about it. What we did at Texas is we played an in-state game, or not an in-state game. We played a game with a group of 5 team, and then we played what would be considered a mid-major, and then we played a national game. Those were the 3 out-of-conference games that we played the entire time I was there, and that was the structure that was in place with the Lost Dodds when I showed up, and I thought that worked really well for us. Start with a group of 5, then play a better opponent, and then play the national opponent. I think that's what we look at here in the same way. I have not been a huge fan of playing a group of 5 school or an FCS school right before the NC State game. I'd rather open up with a group of 5 or FCS school and not play a game of that magnitude that late. I'd rather play conference games when we're down to the end and fighting to compete for a conference championship. And I understand the SEC has that model. I get it. I understand why they wanted to do it, but that would not be my style. And I think we play Appalachian 2 or 3 more times. And I was looking at the down the road schedules today. I think we play Wake Forest every year for the next 2 or 3 years, and they're not even in our division. So we're going to be playing a lot of a lot of the in-state schools. So I feel like we're playing 4 here probably for the next 3 years. Maybe not out next year. I can't remember, but then maybe 2 years in a row.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Art Chansky. Art, go ahead.
Hey, Mac. You are way better and more accessible with the media now than you were your first time here. You are, yeah. And besides your 5 years at at ESPN. Can you explain how and why you've gotten that way when it's really not the case with most older coaches? Most older coaches go the other way, you know?
We won no games when I was here before, the first 2 years. So it probably wasn't a pleasant experience when I talked to the media because I had no answers. And then I think it goes through a process. I really like the way Will Healy handles the media. He's very transparent. He just says what he thinks. And for a young guy, that's unusual. With me, I think I went through phases here and at Texas. And I'm at a different place in my life where I'm very confident in what we're doing. So it's easier, and I've been in your seat. So it's very important for me to help you do your job and make sure that you have facts, because I know how hard your job is now. I didn't know that 7 years ago before I went to ESPN. And I think it would be very helpful for every coach to go spend a year with the media and understand what the other side looks like and why and what and how hard it is. And they would respect that much more. But to me right now, Art, it's important for me to give you information that I can. And it's important that I still have to protect the privacy of our players and our coaches and not give away things that would hurt us in a ball game. But it is very important that when I sit here, I try to give you things that I think would matter to you if I was sitting in your chair.
Also, one follow-up. You also so much better with social media and outreach than Carolina has ever been. I don't know where that comes from, but it's great. And on my news feeds, I see stories from Carolina every day, and I rarely see one from one of our rival schools. So kudos for that. But that all this has to have a recruiting aspect to it as well, doesn't it?
Yes, Art. There's two or three important factors there. Number one, at Texas, we had to do it for recruiting. So I learned very early to get on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and do the things that we needed to do. And I want to do mine myself. That's very important. I don't want other people answering things for me on Twitter because they may mess up or they may not say it the way I would want it said. And then at ESPN, they encouraged you to do the same thing. That they wanted you to be very active in social media. And again, they allowed you to say what you felt. What's happened here, Jeremy Sharp has done an outstanding job with Billy High and Becca, his wife, with our graphics, with our releases. And so not only does it continue to keep us in touch with the top recruits in the country, but it also helps our players. I try to eat lunch with them every day. I eat dinner with them most of the time. I eat breakfast with them every morning. And I like sitting with them and asking them questions. And I said, what do you like about what's going on right now? And some top players said the other day, I like the fact that you're helping us with branding. You're helping us with exposure. And that's a big piece of this name, image, and likeness. So we want to brand the backside guard, the second team guard on the right side that's not getting branded. He's it's unfair to him that if Sam Howell gets money and gets attention, Sam's not going to need it. But that backup corner is going to need it, and the backup free safety. And with name, image, and likeness, nobody's talking about those guys. We're talking about the stars. And there's not going to be many stars on these teams that make money. And the ones that do are probably going to make money anyway. They're not going to need it. So it's our responsibility to brand someone who may not be a star and may not play very much and give them opportunities to put their name out there and have a better resume and have really good opportunities to say things that they feel through their Twitter and through their Instagram because they don't get interviewed. Because if you all don't ask for them, we're still responsible for trying to help them. And that's what we're trying to do. And they understand that. And they really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mac.
Thank you, Art.
Okay, next up is Chapel Fowler. Chapel, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, thanks for taking the time. I was wondering if you elaborate a little bit more on what you saw from the offensive line, good and bad, against Syracuse and what you want to see from that group going forward.
Yeah, Chapel, I thought they did a tremendous job protecting. we had 2 sacks, and one of them was the second or third play of the game, and we had a player that didn't he really didn't stay square, and then we had a couple of mistakes because they were doing so many different things defensively, and some of the stuff we had not seen them do before. But I thought the fact that Josh Azudu was out, and those guys were seeing new looks. And I do think the 3 down linemen for Syracuse are really good players. They're all could play for us. I was really impressed by them. But we got frustrated some with a loss here, an interception there, a tip ball there. And really and truly, I thought the offensive line did a good job throughout the game. So I was pleased with them. Much better than against South Carolina this time last year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, let's move over to Alyssa Ray. Alyssa, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, sorry if you addressed this off the top. I might have missed it, but Will Healy said in his press conference yesterday, you're a resource to him. He spoke so highly of you. How would you describe your relationship with Coach Healy?
Will is, I think more than anything else, someone that I'm really impressed with. I've always liked, I had older coaches help me. Listen, that's really important to me that when I was the president of the American Football Coaches Association and when I was at ESPN, I had coaches call all the time and just ask, how would you do this? Help me with this. Did this ever come up? And I love that. It's a huge part of my life right now that I can give back what older coaches gave back to me. And Will is so open. I mean, he called Sunday and said, hey, let me ask you a couple of questions. I thought, hey, Will, look, man, we're playing this weekend. I don't usually do this. And he said, yeah, but I got a couple of things I want to ask you. And we had our camp together last year, and I think he's just a superstar about to happen. He's really smart. They do innovative things with their team. His teams play hard. They're well coached in all 3 phases. And he's very young. So I'm excited for him. I like watching what he does. Obviously I've coached against my brother Watson when he was at Vanderbilt, and I've coached against a lot of my friends. And when you're coaching against someone you really care about, you have to block it out and just forget it on game day, and you go coach, and that's what you do. And you see them before the game and you see them after the game. But I'm really, really impressed with everything I see with Will. And I know people who have worked for him. I know people who have been around him, and everybody says the same thing. I asked Drake Bly this week, how does your son Trey like Will? He said he loves him. The players love him. They play for him. They love who he is and what he does. And Will's a guy, I played with his uncle at Vanderbilt, and out of the blue, he called me 4 or 5 years ago and said, hey, I'm Will Healy. I'd like to start asking you some questions. Is that okay? And he said, yeah. And we've become really good friends. So I can't wait to watch him grow. I think he's like I said, I think he's a superstar about to happen. And Charlotte's really lucky to have him.
And I know they just announced his start yesterday, but what's your initial response to Dom Schaffner, and what do you see in him at quarterback?
Well, we're lucky that Jay Bateman recruited him and actually had him committed at Army. So Jay knows him really well and likes him, and he's a great runner, and he's got a strong arm. He's 210 pounds. So we think we'll see a lot of quarterback power, quarterback draw, quarterback sweep. So he'll be an extra running back in the backfield. And then they do a tremendous job with their play action. So I'm sure Chris Reynolds is really a good player for them. But a banged-up Chris Reynolds isn't going to be as good as a fresh and excited Dom Schaffner. So this entire team will rally around him, and they're going to be excited for his first start. So Will was going to get them excited anyway. They'll be more excited than they were going to be just because of their new challenge.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Alyssa.
All right, last question for Coach. Ross Martin, go ahead.
Quickly, Coach, on Will Healy, have you heard about or seen anything about Club Lit, their celebration in the locker room? And he was crowd surfing and in the mosh pit during big wins last year.
I did. I saw it some, but for a guy who danced after ball games as poorly as I danced, it'd be hard for me to look at someone else and try to figure out whether what they were doing was appropriate, because Sally told me I was the worst looking dancer she had ever seen after I danced last year. So, but I think that's Will's attempt to have fun. He came in like we did to a program that was struggling, and he took them to a bowl game. So he had to change the culture, and what he's doing is with fun. I told him I was not taking my shirt off. That was not an option for me, period. And I might get divorced. Sally'd leave me, but I took my shirt off and danced. But at least I could dance. But I think that's why he's fun. I saw on the TV copy the other day, his players' families couldn't come to the games. He had a Zoom meeting with all the parents and the players in the locker room before the game. I mean, he just comes up with this crazy stuff that really works, and it's fun. So I think you've got to give him credit for he's doing whatever he can do to excite his team and get recruits to Charlotte. And he doesn't have as much money as we do. He doesn't have the same staff we have. So we should be good. We have absolutely no excuse for us not to be good, because we have everything that we've asked for. He doesn't. He does so many things by himself and working on it. And we're working this week with his uniforms. That's been an issue, because it was an issue at Appalachian State that they said the white uniforms weren't legal by the NCAA rules because you couldn't see the yellow numbers as much. So they may even have to wear their green uniforms. And I just told Will to work out what's best for him and come on and play. Let's not get into that. But he's a worker and he's a go-getter. And then somebody told me yesterday he also shot 74 last summer up in the mountains playing golf. So unless that was on about 36 holes, I'm not going to play. I mean, about 9 holes, I'm not going to play with him, because I'd be 74 after about 9 holes.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Coach.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Coach. That's all for today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.